Hello and good morning, everyone. Here we are. We made it. Happy Valentine's
Hello.
Day.
Very well,
Hey.
thanks. How is everyone?
Good. Well, if you're tuning in live, this is Alternative Healthcare Solutions. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Lee, which I am so excited because I can finally say that. I can finally say that I'm Dr. Jamie Lee. I finally achieved my long-term goal of getting my doctorate, my PhD in metaphysical sciences and quantum healing. So that's a big, exciting announcement for me today. Yes, a little self-love here to myself. But I wanted to introduce everybody here in our collective. We're so excited that you guys have joined us today. It was such a great topic. When it comes to mental health, this is a huge, huge hurdle for so many people. Is really loving themselves in a very authentic way, right? Some people may not have that struggle, but I know the majority of us have been faced with that, and that is part of our transformation story, right? So I'm going to take a minute to introduce our roundtable experts this morning. I'm going to go ahead and call you out, then I want you to share who you are and why you're here today, and just a little bit about you. So Sheila, you want to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sheila Gardner. I'm with Gardner Wellness Team. And my husband and I are essential oil educators. And then I'm also a professional voice teacher. So I work with singers, even speakers sometimes who just want to kind of up that game, get in front of people, whether it's singing or speaking and have confidence. So there's kind of a dual area that I work in, but I've kind of merged it together to also create this holistic approach to taking care of our bodies as well as our voices, since we use them for so many things.
I love that. I'm glad that you mentioned that you are a voice coach, vocal coach too, because I think that, well, let's just say that I had an experience with one of my clients, and she was listening to a recording of meditations. So they record it in my system, and they listen to those affirmations over and over again. And I asked her, I said, what did you think? And she said, well, I'm hiring a voice coach because I hate my voice.
Oh,
We're going to work on self-love. But it is so important because that is something in our subconscious mind too, of even just hearing our own voice. All right. So welcome. And Vishad, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Vishad. I'm the mindset transformer with my brand Inner Peace Walker. I'm all about looking beyond your symptoms, wherever they are in life, to the root cause of low self-worth, which we look to repair together and then use it to create your path to your inner peace, whatever you define that to be. Very excited for the conversation today. Anything containing the word self is what I'm all about. So when I heard self-love, it's like, right, let's go on and talk about it.
Love it. Love it. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to make sure we tap into some music as well today. So I'll be tapping into your experience and expertise there. And we have Mila. How are you, Mila? Good morning. Joining us from
Hi.
Prague, right?
Hi, Jamie Lee. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mila. My name is actually Milena, but everybody calls me Mila. So I'm a co-founder of Star Network. And Star Network is a 501c3, an organization dedicated to bringing global awareness, transformation, and self-love to everybody whose emotional realities have been distorted by toxic, abusive relationships. TAR. We call it TAR, as Dr. Jamie does. And our mission is one of the greatest public health crisis of our time, to prevent the attachment disorder and effectively provide treatment for complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD.
I love it. And as you can tell, that is why you were here today, because it's so important. And in a society where we are being inundated with narcissistic abuse from all different areas of life, in the medical field, in the churches, in the government, everywhere, we're seeing this. And then in our personal lives, that it really makes us question who we are and if we're lovable. So it is vital to have your organization here joining us as a resource as well. So welcome. So as I've mentioned before, today is the topic that we're going to talk about is self-love. And this was actually, we were intending to stream this yesterday, but it ended up not working out to be able to stream it yesterday. Just lots of things at last minute. And so we switched it to today, but I think everything happens for a divine reason. And lo and behold, it's Valentine's Day. So we are streaming this on the most, recognized day of love that there is. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful coincidence or an alignment. So, so welcome. So this is how this event works. We've all actually pulled questions from the audience, which we'll answer here today in this live stream that's been leading up to this event. And then we have some other questions that we're going to engage in some conversation. It's very low key. We're just having casual conversations about this very important topic. But what we want to invite you to is to really dive in and join us on February 22nd for our main event that is all focused on self-love. So if you like what you're hearing today and you'd really like to dive deeper in with each one of these practitioners individually, then the event on the 22nd is the event for you. And we're going to have more practitioners there. With some of them couldn't join us today, but this is going to be such a day of refreshing, a day of feeling really valued and loved, I believe. And that's the whole purpose. I think that we have to get into that state of learning to love ourselves first, before we try to tap in the love of others or even give love to others. We have to be able to find that self-love. And that's been definitely a journey for myself. And I would say from our experts, they've also been through quite the journey themselves. So welcome. And if you have a question, throw it in the chat. And then we're going to be able to answer them live. So if you didn't submit your questions earlier, that's okay. Just go ahead and join in and throw them in the chat and we will discuss. So let's dive right in. And Vishad, I'm going to start with you first. Can you share a transformative story where practicing self-love significantly changed a client's mindset?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is that everything in life you experience comes down to your mindset. It's the way you interact with the world, the way you interpret your own patterns, behaviors, etc. And there's many a time when clients have spoken to me saying that they dwell on past mistakes. What didn't I do before? And that's in any context, right? Whether it's your career, your relationship, your health. We're in the part of the year, mid-February, where we've had about 6 weeks of the new year. And probably around this time, a lot of like New Year's resolutions are falling on their ass. In January, you started with like, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And then eventually through January, you become disinterested. And then mid-February, you're like, right, that gym membership or whatever it might be, you don't use it anymore. And then what do you say? So I self-sabotaged. I can't do it. I've got no willpower, I've got no motivation. You're having a go at yourself, essentially. It's the epitome of everybody else advising you, even though you didn't, ask for the advice, or literally telling you what to do. You should do this, or you have to do this, or, essentially projecting themselves onto you. And then you exacerbate that by going, right, I can't do this. I'm unable to do this. I might understand the words people are saying, but at the moment, I'm having a go at myself. That's the epitome of lowering your own self-worth. So when many a client has mentioned that to me of making those past mistakes, I say to them, well, it's okay to feel how you do. First of all, the emotions surrounding the words you tell yourself are things like guilt, embarrassment, shame, doubt. It's the idea that I can't do this. You're basically limiting your own possibilities and ideas from a story that you're telling yourself. Much of our lives are made up of stories, right? And that's essentially a defense mechanism of your subconscious. So it's not actually self-sabotage, it's self-protection. It's to go, right, I don't know enough about this change you're trying to do, so I'm going to sort of protect you from it until you give me more evidence of what you're trying to do. So when clients have told me that, I dwell on past mistakes, I don't feel like I move myself forward, I essentially ask themselves to challenge that notion to their own subconscious. Now, I don't tell them, right, you're wrong in thinking that, or, get out that thinking and it's all positive thinking. No, I asked them to have that conversation with your subconscious. Sounds a bit sort of out there, but essentially it's asking themselves, right, where did this belief come from? To look beyond the symptom and go, okay, what story is playing out and what's behind it? Where did I first pick up this notion? Because most of the time, all these behaviors that we think of are defaults. The idea that I can't do this has come from somewhere where we've experienced this. So we can revisit that notion and go, okay, what actually happened? So then when you actually run through the outcome, the scenario, whatever it might be, yes, something might have happened, but ultimately it wasn't a huge impact that we think we're making, and therefore is a commentary on what we're able to do going forward. So I essentially start there with people about just ask yourself what actually happened. A lot of the time it will be less of a big impact than you thought. And then you actually give your subconscious that proof of like, actually, I'm only defaulting down to one route that I'm never going to be able to do something again, when actually all the possibilities are open. So as a way of an example, many a kid would have gone to their parents when they, had a good result on their test. Like they come home and said, I got 90% on the test. They're very proud of themselves. They want to share it and tell their folks and almost get that acceptance and significance. But then, so they tell their parents, I got 90%. And then their parent goes, what happened to the other 10%? Now, the child might then go in their heads going, I got 90%. Wasn't that good enough? And then what happens going forward? It fuels the belief they always have to be perfect at a test or whatever they're doing, and therefore be special and high achieving. And what happens is that story ends there, where they go, right, I got told subliminally, I always have to be perfect at 100%. Therefore, in future, if I don't get something as high as say 95, even 100%, I failed. I can't do it. I want to get 100%. But then ultimately, when you go back to that story, what happened afterwards? Well, nothing. The parent probably would just said, actually, well done, very proud of you. Maybe even got rewarded, that kind of thing. But we stop the story where it feels more painful to then process. So again, it's just an invitation process. Challenge the story, what actually happened, and you'll discover there are more possibilities going forward.
Great word. I think it's important to listen to those ticker tapes in our mind that happen in the background. And I like to challenge people to begin to write them out. And once you hear those words, once you hear what's on that ticker tape that's going to the back of your mind, write them down. And so that you can visually see them and say, well, where did this come from? Like, why am I saying to myself these things? Because that is what's happening. You're hardwiring your brain to believe that about yourself. And I think that's an important element of that transformation to self-love, is to recognize and to really clearly identify what those ticker tracks. Maybe it came from your parents, like Vishad said. Maybe it was something that you assumed of them. Maybe even they weren't as vocal in what you said as far as saying, what happened. But maybe that's what you first told yourself that they were going to say. I think that you can also project onto them, because of lack of self-love, project onto them what you think they're going to say about you. And it becomes this really cyclical cycle that really shapes your view of yourself. So great message. Anybody have anything to share to that? We're good. Okay. I think, and that was kind of what I was leading into the next thing is, do you struggle with self-talk? That is a really good, with negative self-talk. If that is something that you struggle with, it's an indicator that there is a lack of self-love there. So what does self-love mean to you? And Melina, I'll let you go ahead and ask or answer this one. So in your world, what does self-love mean to you?
Thank you, Jamie Lee. Well, in our world, and me as an advocate and as a co-founder of Star Network, self-love it's about learning to trust your own feelings. It's about honoring your boundaries and giving yourself the compassion that you were maybe denied as a child, that kind of an authenticity. Because true self-love isn't just about baths and affirmations. It's doing that hard work It's about recognizing your true worth, uh, where you don't depend on somebody else's approval, and understanding that you are actually enough. And especially self love after narcissistic abuse means learning to trust yourself again fully and treating yourself with kindness that you deserve. And you do deserve that. It's about setting healthy boundaries, listening to your feelings, to your intuition, and knowing your worth, that it is not defined by anybody else, but just by you. So, in simple ways, self love is about speaking kindly to yourself, replacing thoughts such as I'm not good enough with I'm doing my best and that is enough. Taking care of your body, of your soul, going to sleep, eating nourishing foods, moving, doing yoga, Pilates, and especially with when you are trapped in a narcissistic abusive relationship, the boundaries are very important. So it's completely okay to say no, saying no that can drain you. And additionally, finding the right support that you need. It can be a trauma informed therapist, it can be support groups like Star Network provides support groups, Tarnan. Um, Healing does take time, and but every small step, towards self-love helps you rebuild that life of authenticity that all people that are stuck in toxic abusive relationships do need so much.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. I also love that you distinguish between self love practices and actual self love. We can do practices all day long, but if it's not penetrated in our mind and in our hearts, those practices are only going to be frustrating because they're not going to work. It is we have to look at the body from a holistic point of view, from mind, body, and spirit. And honestly, when you're going through, just like you were referring to, as really loving yourself and setting those boundaries, I think that you also have to realize that you have to love yourself unconditionally, like that part. There are no conditions that you can put yourself on to say that I'm not lovable. Like, I am not lovable because I did X, Y, and Z in the past. And anytime we start bringing up those past experiences into our present day, we are not self-loving. And this has been a process of healing for me, and my husband as well. And I know that on our journey of loving ourselves, we have also, because we've come out of past relationships that were dysfunctional and troublesome, but as we've learned to love each other, we love each other's past as well. Like, being able to say, I know you have a past. I know you have, things in there. I love you regardless of what's in your closet. And having that unconditional love, if you can say that to yourself, that is doing the hard work. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Mila, of really, it is the hard work that has to be done. And you are worth doing the hard work. You are worth that self-love. And when you find that self-love, it is a lot like, there's a visual that I like to share. Those potted plants, if that's blooming, if it is in the shade, you just moving it to the sun is going to give it all of the nurturing and the nutrients that it needs to actually fully bloom. And so, that is something, a visual of, like, sometimes you have to remove yourself from a situation so that you can bloom the way you were meant to bloom. And so I just wanted to say that it is hard work. It can mean uprooting. It can mean moving your life, especially when it comes to toxic relationships. But in that work of really finding who self is, that's what's the beautiful transformation, is finding who self is. So I love that. Great word. Sheila, what advice do you have for incorporating vocal exercises into daily routines to promote that self-care and self-love?
Well, as far as vocal exercises, there's a couple of things that you can do. As far as like a warm up or maybe some vocal training, if you are someone who speaks a lot or sings, which in my case I do, but even just in your daily life and speaking, one of the things that I do, I know you mentioned something about your one client that said they were going to get voice lessons. Sometimes I run into that where people don't like the sound of their voices. They don't like to listen to it. I've had students in the studio and they're using the microphone and they don't want to use the microphone because they don't want to hear their voices and don't want to hear what it sounds like. And so I always try to build confidence, right? And really build that up. So there's a lot that goes into it as far as, how we speak and how we see, how we say the words. There's a lot of modifications when it comes into the singing portion of it. But what you can do to kind of just strengthen your voice, so that way when you do say those affirmations, right, you feel confident in your voice. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll do some simple lip buzzes, kind of helps clear out what I call the cobwebs, the frog in the throat, right? And so I'll just do some lip buzzes, one of my first go-to exercises actually that I do. And then sometimes very simple articulation exercises or tongue twisters. All right. Those are kind of fun to do just to kind of get maybe a particular B's or C's or F's, S's, different sounds like that are so key. And so you want to build up that confidence in your speaking, right? So I would do some simple lip buzzes, some simple scales, that will help, just like a, yaw kind of thing, and work through that. And that's going to help build that confidence when you speak, because it does start there. It really starts there. I've told my students that over and over again, that when you want to build that confidence in your singing, you have to start with your speaking. A funny story that happened to me years ago, and this got me on the track of that, was back when, and this has probably been 16, 17 years ago, I was working for a different company at that time, part-time, and I was dealing with some drivers, delivery drivers and stuff. And one of the guys came up to me and he said, I can tell you're a real singer. And I thought, what does that mean? A real singer? And he said, I can tell by the way you speak. And it really hit me hard. It really comes out in how I am talking to people, how I'm communicating. It builds that confidence. So speaking out, articulating, projecting your voice, making sure that you speak with confidence. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the other thing too. If we're not confident, we'll talk quiet, we might mumble, we don't have, we might seem distant and we're not confident. So we're not building that up. So there's a lot within the voice that's so important to do. And so just even simple exercises, there's tons on YouTube as well. You can jump on there and look up just some basic exercises. And of course I have some too, if people are interested. I have exercises that I've recorded, I send to people, just something simple, and just to kind of get things going and get you feeling confident in your own voice. I think that's so important. So lip buzzes, just simple, basic exercises, and then just practicing speaking. So if there are some affirmations or things that you want to say, and these are confidence builders for you, really think about how you're saying them. I am lovable. I am, just really think about it and how you're speaking it, really articulate it. Say it like you mean it. That's another thing I always use. Sing it like you mean it. Get out there and articulate. Sing to the back of the room is what I always tell my students. So when you're speaking, same thing. You want to articulate so the person in the back row can hear you. Now, maybe you're not going to do your meditations and your affirmations that loud, but you want to make sure that you are hearing them, right? And so feeling confident in your voice is so key. So I think just making sure that when you're speaking, you speak out, you articulate, you project, whether it's a vocal exercise that you're singing, maybe you love to sing, but you're like, I don't know if I'm a great singer. Some people don't care. Some people just want to sing because it's something that they enjoy. And that's great. You know what? I say go for it. If it's something that you love and it makes you happy to do that, go for it. And you know what? Who cares what anybody says, right? But if you really want to work on your voice, speaking and singing, I would definitely just really practice that. Speaking out, articulate, and you'll feel that confidence build over time. It will make a huge difference in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think that when you're talking about receiving that compliment, right? That's
Mhm.
another area or a telltale sign that you're not self-loving if you're not able to receive a compliment like that. You were able to take that compliment, analyze it, and embody it, and say, "Yeah, that is what I am." Um, but I think that a lot of people who are struggling with self-love, that is an indicator. If someone gives you a compliment, say, "I love your hair," and you're instantly like, "Oh, it's horrible. I've done this and I can't get it to do right," or you're going into that negative state, you're not able to receive. So that was for me, one of my
Mhm.
journey to self-love was really to learn to receive things about myself. If someone were to compliment my voice and say, "I love your voice, you have a really great voice," I would, instead of going to that negative self-talk, I would say, "Thank you. I didn't know that about me," like that other people would enjoy that. So I think it is important, and to really focus on, again, how does that exchange happen when that love is given? How is love received? And if you are in a position of self-love, and when those compliments come, you're able to receive them, but also when the negativity comes, you're able to reject them. And
Mhm.
I think that is a big difference between starting out without self-love and transforming to self-love. But great message, great word. I love that. Okay, so Vishad, how does self-love relate to achieving personal and professional goals?
So, in order to answer that question, let's have a look at how we might approach goals at the moment, both professional and personal. We're probably coming from the perspective of, if I get that thing or state, that's what will make me happy or fulfilled. So if I get that promotion, if I get that extra money, if I get that car, if I get that relationship, that's what will make me happy. That's what's missing. And I'm going to put everything into that. So one of two things invariably happens. You end up getting the outcome or the goal, and you're like, it's all right. It doesn't actually satisfy me fully, or it's short-lived. And then you go looking for something else. You're like, okay, I'll get that thing instead. That's what will make me happy. Or for whatever reason, we end up not achieving it. And then again, we go back into the same patterns. I can't do it. I've got no willpower. I'm not good enough, as Mila pointed out. And you perpetuate that in your efforts going forward. So if anything similar comes up goal-wise, you're like, see, I tried it before and it didn't work and I can't do it. I'm not good enough. Now, those patterns have been established for years based on programming experiences we've encountered, and it's not going to disappear overnight. So bringing back the themes of what we said about patience and understanding, and also accepting that we'll make mistakes along the way. This isn't meant to be an error-free journey. It will take the time. It will take the patience. So when it comes to goals, the first thing we can do is de-link our self-worth from the goals itself. Now, that might sound a bit counterintuitive at first, but the idea here is that at the moment, when we say, I want that thing, we're like, right, if I don't get it, then I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is we can look behind the goal and go, right, why do I want it in the first place? So it can be anything you can pick: your relationship, your career, your health, your emotions management, your money management, whatever it might be. Whatever that goal is, you can ask yourself, because this is what your subconscious is asking. So let's just say, being Valentine's Day, I'm looking for a partner. If you're a single person, that is, or even if you're not, maybe that's the way it goes. You want to ask yourself the question, okay, why do I want a partner? Never mind what and where and how and all that logistic based stuff. Why do I want the partner? Is it for intimacy, companionship, starting a family, or is it something that you see externally, i.e., well, everybody else has got one, so I think I should get one. I'm the last man or woman standing. Is there family pressure? Is there cultural pressure going, well, you're hitting a certain age now and you've got to get married or start a family? And, that fuels your like, well, shit, I better do that before time is up, whatever that means. So it gives you a chance to go, right, where are my drivers coming from towards goal setting? Now, when we ask ourselves, what do I actually want? You might find that actually, I say I want a partner, but do I really want it? And that's the second key question. What do you want? Now, that in itself sounds like a bit of a easy question. Well, I'll just say all the things, the outcomes. But again, look behind it. Is it related to I want the partner, or is that no, I want to not feel lonely, or I want to, and again, even that's an invitation. Okay, I don't want to feel lonely, but what does loneliness look like? So the more you dig into your goals, the more actually you find out what do you actually want and what your true goals might be. And even then, you don't just fix them going, right, they're set in stone, never going to change, and off we go. Because we're human beings. We're not like ChatGPT, a robot. We're like, right, that's what you told me. That's exactly what I'm going to fix on. We're a human being, which means we would change our mind all the time. But we've got the expectation or behavior at the moment going, fuck, I can't change my mind. That means I look indecisive. I look stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. So we stem away from that going, well, I'll pick this now. But we will change our mind naturally. So if you go towards a goal and go, that's not really my wheelhouse or space anymore, that's okay. Even that very definition of saying that's okay raises your self-worth slightly, because now you're getting to truly say what's good for you. Now, it's not going to stop everybody else having their opinion and pitching in going, oh, you should do this and don't do that and do this way. That's fine. You're not here to be a rebel or go against them. So all these practices, ask yourself what you want, ask behind the symptom, staying kind to yourself, knowing that you'll make mistakes. They're all epitomes of self-love, because it's all coming from your own internal perspective, and you're giving yourself basically the chance to practice these things out there in the real world, instead of going, right, I've got to set this goal, this generic goal that everybody else seems to have got, and then move forward that way. So the two are basically inherently linked together, but it's up to us to take our own responsibility and de-link them so that actually goals become a natural byproduct of the work. So when you do work on yourself, you often hear in like relationship circles that like, when, before you find somebody, you got to love yourself first and all this kind of thing. Yeah, fine. That's got some traction to it, but it's the practice first. It's not to go, right, I've done the work, now I should get a partner. Well, all you've done there is actually increase your possibilities. That's all that it is. So when you approach it like that, you actually raise your self-worth little by little in whatever field going forward.
Oh, beautiful. Good word. I think I've had to, me personally, just hearing you talk, me personally, I've also had to forgive myself for past goals that weren't achieved. And that was huge for me to recognize that there were things that I didn't achieve. And it's okay that I didn't achieve those, that I had a purposeful life. There were other things that I did and I fulfilled that were not on my list. But again, that goes down to that self-worth of why are you doing it? Why are you focusing on it? And is my worth tied to it, like you said? So great message. Melina, in your experience, how does self-love influence mental resilience and emotional healing?
Well, regarding resilience and emotional healing, so self-love plays a huge role in building mental resilience and emotional healing. Because when you practice self-love, you create a safe inner foundation where you can face challenges while you're emotionally crumbling. For example, if you make a mistake, instead of beating yourself up, you learn to respond with compassion and with curiosity. Self-love, as mentioned before, already helps you set boundaries, which protects you emotionally from those energy vampires and reduces stress. When you know your worth, you're less likely to stay in a harmful or a toxic abusive relationship or situations. And over time, this self-love support builds resilience, helps you recover more quickly from setbacks and approach life with a greater confidence and calm. So it helps you build your inner strength and promotes your emotional healing, encourages your healthy boundaries with others. So you're creating a family of choice In a sense, you're surrounded by people who are not toxic, but who help. You cannot get well in an environment that made you sick in the first place, and especially helps you with stress and anxiety reduction.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love too that you're mentioning reactionary responses versus a very peaceful, calm response. I think that that is a key indicator that we've set up those boundaries and we've protected self-love. We've protected inner self. And I think that's, what you're alluding to or presenting as resiliency. It's not that you're able to tolerate more abuse. It is more so that you're not reactionary to anything and you're able to protect that peace. And I think when you've gone through the process of learning how to protect that peace, man, you become so in the beginning stages, you become so protective of it. You recognize it immediately that this piece is beyond understanding. This piece is my essential, for my survival and for my life and for thriving. And so you do become very resilient to a lot of things that you don't let it disrupt your peace. And I think that that's a great message whenever you're, referring to where are you, kind of taking a measurement of where you are on this self-love, scale, if you're able to find that peace and stay in it.
Exactly. I would add that it's about also putting, your ad ring on your finger first. So loving yourself first, and also being proactive more than reactive. So I would add to that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's talk about self-love rituals a little bit, or self-love practices. And Sheila, I'll let you go. I'll let you answer this one. Oh, sorry, my son is calling me. Can you share like self-love rituals using essential oils that can impact that have had an impact on your clients? I think that, these rituals, even though in the beginning I was kind of, putting them down. I wasn't putting them down, but I was saying that it's not exactly the go-to to change. It's that inner work that causes the change. But those self-love practices are literally like essential to healing and recovery. You have to stay in those reminders. And I think essential oils, anytime we connect our sensory organs with our, mind, body, spirit, that is a huge impact. So can you share a little bit of what your experience with your clients has been, how that's been impactful on your clients?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, essential oils are very powerful compounds. And one of the things that I have found, just depending on whatever the situation is, what I might need, I'll go for a certain oil. I hope that's not me. That's making that noise. Okay. I don't know. But I have found that, there are different essential oils and everyone is different too, what you might react to. So sometimes there might be a little bit of trial and error. I know for me, when I've dealt with anxiety or I've just been, a lot of, I'm running here, running there, and I need to calm down and just kind of settle. I might reach for lavender. I might reach for ylang ylang. I actually have a blend that I use that has both of them in there as well, and neroli. So there's different ones, and there's different purposes for those. And it's always kind of fun to research, and kind of see which ones are great. I will tell you, if in doubt, frankincense is always a great oil to use, and it's very grounding. And so that's one that I love to use. And of course, I use frankincense as well, like for headaches and stuff, and because I'm busy, I'm running here, running there, and there's always something going on. But I have found that it's a great time to just stop, right? Just stop everything. And just in that moment, you just put a couple of drops of your favorite oil, and then you just breathe it in and just take a few minutes and take some deep breaths, take calming breaths, allowing you to just kind of calm. It gives you that opportunity to stop whatever is going on, right? Feels like the world just kind of stops around you. And then you just kind of, okay, I recharge. right? It gives me that chance to do that and just kind of calm and settle down, whatever is going on up here, all of the noise that happens. And so that is what I love about essential oils. And there's multiple ways to do it. That's topically. You can put them in a diffuser. So if you like to have it, around you throughout the day when you're working and it's just uplifting, maybe you just want something uplifting. I go for a floral scent, maybe citrus. Those are great to just have, around because it's going to be invigorating. It's going to kind of lift you up if you're feeling tired or you're down. I've done that before where I was actually, funny story. I was sitting in church one day and I was so tired that morning and I thought I am falling asleep. And I felt so bad falling asleep during the message. And I'm so there trying to keep my eyes open, So I pulled out my peppermint and I was breathing that peppermint in, and just to kind of wake me up. I needed that wake up. So just depending on what you need, there is an oil for that, right? If you need to have some calmness, you're feeling anxiety and you're stressed, lavender would be a great oil, to reach for, if you're feeling kind of tired, you're sleepy, maybe you're down and you're just having, some rough time, depression. I know that's really hard. And you're just feeling down. Peppermint's a great oil. Lemon, something citrusy. I love grapefruit. Grapefruit's a great oil too. Lime is one of my favorites. So something like that, it's going to lift you up. Maybe you need a floral scent. Maybe you're missing spring right now, right? Because it's winter and it's cold and we're all stuck inside. I might reach for jasmine or magnolia, rose, and just use something that's going to uplift me and help with those emotions. All right. That emotional support is so key. And I think that's where sometimes we don't think about it, with the essential oils, but it is huge. And I find that it helps with that turnaround, just, with my mood or whatever's going on, or if I'm tired and I need just that, little bit of an uplift for the day or a calmness, I will reach for those. And those really make a big difference. And I've had a lot of people say that too. Lavender is a big one, peppermint, lemon. And actually, I think those are 3 of the top selling oils. So, and frankincense. So frankincense is amazing for anything that you have going on. It's great. It's very grounding too, if you
I
need
love
that.
I'll probably try to get some frankincense from you because for me, I use the majority of of course we use essential oils when we're sick, but when it comes to, for me, stress of work, like when I've got a lot of things piling up on me that I haven't been able to get done, it's very easy for me to be triggered into that fight mode of my nervous system and really on getting things done. But the scents, so I'll put on lavender because I will remember, it's like a trigger in my mind to remember to breathe it in and calm and focus, and you achieve so much more work, to get through so much faster whenever we're grounded. And it's really important. And sometimes we don't realize how connecting it is to be grounded and getting work done versus just trying to panic and get things done.
Yes, it will help. It helps with that brain fog and whatever is going around. It can just help center you as well. And then also too, just taking that time to just take some deep breaths and just center yourself. I do that on a regular basis. And I kind of walk my students through that too. So when they're going to be in a stressful situation, we talk about that. Okay, what can we do to just kind of recenter yourself? Because it really kind of takes you a moment. You stop everything that you're doing, right? And everything just stops. And I actually try to incorporate those moments into my day because sometimes we can go, 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 and go. And it might sound goofy and kind of crazy, but I actually like to plan, even if it's like 20 minutes or half hour. I know I have that time so I can take a minute and take a breather and just kind of recoup because, as a mom and as a teacher and everything I've got going, I'm running from here to there and everywhere and there's a lot going on. And so it can be overstimulating sometimes. So just to have a few moments where I can just take that time and then just kind of recenter and just kind of regroup, and it makes a big difference. And so the oils play a big part in that in our household. So
I love it. It's so great. So we're coming up on the hour, so I want to honor everybody's time and just, also just be grateful that you've joined us live, and maybe you're watching the replay. If you have questions for us still that you would like to see answered, we will be answering them in our main event on February 22nd. I just wanted to speak a little bit about that event. It's going to run from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And what this looks like is if you were to walk into a live event where you're in person, you would have speakers, you would have workshops, you would have vendor booths, and you would have sponsors. All of that is going to be in this space virtually, to where you have access to all of those things. So you're going to have vendors in there. You're going to see our sponsors and connect with them. You're going to see these live speakers and join their workshops and actually engage in the workshops. So it's a fantastic way to really explore different ways of different modalities and different ways to regulate yourself and build your life and build the life that you want to have that's more holistic and healthy. So I'm super excited. We're going to have Dr. Jamie Heisman join us on that day. He is going to be teaching a workshop, and I'll let Melina talk a little bit about that. Vashad is going to be there, right, Vashad? We didn't get to talk about music today, but whenever I was preparing this whole thing, there was a song that kept coming to my mind every single time I was working on this event. It's the I Can Buy Myself Flowers. And I'm like dying laughing, like this song keeps playing in my head, that I can buy myself flowers. Because I think that song is a war cry for, I don't need a man to take care of me. I can take care of myself, which is just funny. But I love your aspect that you bring into music. We didn't get to really catch on that today, so I hope you're going to incorporate some of that. I do believe that music is so powerful, especially when we are resonating those frequencies and we're speaking those frequencies in an emotional response. It is those aspects in quantum healing that actually causes change in your life. So finding that war cry song, finding that song that you align with, that brings up your frequencies and your mood. And I know Dr. Jamie Heisman loves music as well, and I'm sure he'll be sharing some of that as well. But that is such a powerful tool for self-love, as well as finding that song that resonates with you. I have a very personal soundtrack that I listen to when I am feeling in low places, and when I'm having those moments of feeling defeated or feeling whatever negative emotions that I'm going through. And it actually has no lyrics. I mean, the soundtrack has a lyric version and then one without lyrics. But it's called Rest by Becca Shea, and she's a close friend of mine. But that Rest CD, like that whole album, I can just put it on repeat throughout the entire day and listen to that, and those frequencies just bring me into that calming state. And you pair that with some essential oils, nothing is going to disrupt my peace anymore. So I'm glad that we're going to be talking more about these things. I think that this topic is something that we could talk all day on. So just quickly before we get off of here, I want to know two things. One, Melina, I'm gonna ask you another question, because I think that one of the important things that we need is communities. When we're not able to find love in our own personal community where we are, finding that love from others and that support for self-love in communities seems to play a vital piece. Recently, I joined a Facebook group just for giggles because it literally made me laugh. The Facebook group was the group where we pretend to be a family. And it is like 40,000 people that pretend to be cousins, aunts, uncles, you name it. And they just say, yeah, cuz, and they just like literally act like the family that they never had. And it is so sweet. But I think communities is what we're craving. So how can communities and support networks contribute to fostering self-love among survivors of narcissistic abuse? Melina.
Thank you, Jamie Lee. Amazing question. I mean, I would just add like this pretending. For example, What we're trying to do and what we are doing at Star Network is we are creating a family of choice, which is very important, right? After your reality has been distorted by narcissistic abuse and your authenticity has been completely eradicated, you are feeling isolated. So, as you've mentioned, community support networks are very instrumental in your healing, and they are so much helping survivors of toxic abusive relationships, survivors of narcissistic abuse. They help you, they validate your feelings, they understand you. There's this just like me. So the communities that we have at Star Network is Tarnan, the free supportive virtual groups, where we remind survivors that you're not alone. You're not alone on this path of recovery and transformation. It's a safe space for authenticity as well, so you can be yourself, right? As a child, if I'm taking my own experience, I was brought up in a toxic family dynamic and I was not able to um, be myself, be authentic. I had to shapeshift, which gets you in these toxic abusive relationships later on in the life and leaves the scars. So, this space, places where you can be authentic and you can show that authentic face, and as you maybe said, pretend being each other's cousin, but you are brothers and sisters. You're kind of a sisterhood, a brotherhood, a family of choice. So, which is very important. And at Star Network, we do have Facebook groups. We have Star Network Tarnan, our free virtual support groups, where we can share tools for self-help books, meditation, various tools for meditation like Insight Timer, which does really help for healing for transformation from boundary setting, which is very important, and for grounding techniques, which were said here. And it gives that hope, which is so much needed. So, and seeing others who have healed, who have gone through the journey, and even though journey is a journey of transformation, but without the destination, right? We're peeling the onion and working our steps to being more authentic, loving ourselves more, and especially on Valentine's Day. And every day, actually, every day should be Valentine's Day. That's my opinion. We should love ourselves. And those communities gives us hope and inspiration. It gives us the motivation to keep on going, even on those hardest days. And we all know that we all have some situations when, grief, be it our children are sick, something has happened in our personal lives, and it's hard to keep going on forward. But that's why these communities and connecting with people either virtually or offline is very much important. Healing is very hard, but the right community, the right family of choice can really help you. I've been there. So that's
Yes,
my
I love it. I love what your organization offers, and to at Alternative Healthcare Solutions, we have come together to collaborate with you, and you have now become a part of our community as well, and offer that valuable resource that you guys offer. So that's another great huge announcement that we have and that we're working on, is really allowing our audiences to come together to offer these alternative solutions, to offer this alternative experience, to come in and find people who support your journey through authenticity. And so I'm so glad that you said that. It is that most authentic person. It's be who you are created to be. And this experience is not, like you said, it's not a destination. It is a transformation without a destination. I love that. Vishad, are we going to hear from you on the 22nd? Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'll try to be there. I'll put something together especially about the music element of it. And you shared some great points there about music being that impactful. Like you mentioned a war cry song. Every scenario that you got in your life, you'll have a story behind it. Today's Valentine's Day. There'll definitely be a song that reminds you about your partner. There'll be ugly cry songs. There'll be war cry songs. There'll be gym playlists. Whatever you've all got stories about it, and they tap into every emotional spectrum that we can have all across the board, and they're all as valid as each other. The music is that vehicle that you use inherently to understand emotions, your own emotions, because your story about how that song relates to you is your own story. It's going to be different for somebody else, but the space to tap into is your own. And that's what my podcast is all about, where you get to come on and share those stories. So and one final thing I'll add just on the topic of self-love, and I've run out of time, so I'll try and make it quick. There could be a weight on a lot of people today to live up to someone or thing. You've got to do something for your partner, or if you're single, you've got to sort that out. And with that comes a whole range of emotions. If you're with a partner, you might feel like, the joy, the excitement, the reliving, all that kind of thing. But on the flip side, if you're single, there may be doubt, there may be loneliness, there may be sadness. All the emotions that you feel are okay wherever you are. There's not a positive set, there's not a negative set. They're all neutral, and they're all within the valid experience. So even just giving yourself the message that it's okay to feel these things raises that self-worth and self-love. And look, people may hear this topic self-love and going, is that me just standing in front of the mirror saying, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself on repeat? Well, if that works for you, I'm not here to say don't do that. But what you may find happening is, whilst you're doing that, your shadow is behind you in the mirror going, hello, I'm a part of you. You fucking hate me. So how can you love yourself? How does that work? So the point there is to go, if we can, with the time, with the practice and the making mistakes, meet your shadow, understand it, and go, oh, okay, I get why you're there. You're not looking to get rid of it. You're not looking to destroy it. None of this going on. But when you integrate that part of yourself within you, watch how your self-worth and love go up. Because now you've integrated all the parts of yourself, and they'll always be there. There's moments when your shadow will pop up from wherever. That's okay. And we don't need to splinter it off and keep it suppressed. It's all a valid part of yourself, and that's your true expression of self-love.
I love that. As you were speaking, I get the image of Peter Pan. Did you ever watch that as a kid? Peter Pan, and they're chasing the shadow around the room and sewing it onto their foot, and I think that that's a great analogy of not to be afraid of it, not to disconnect from the shadow work, not, but to really chase it down and to experience it and attach it to you, because that is where that full alignment happens. And just like when they whipped it in and connected it to Peter Pan, and he was able to fly, that shadow was a reflection of him and able to show both sides of him in true authentic form. So great word, great message. Well, I am excited for the 22nd. I'm excited to have it. I know Sheila's having some technical difficulties, and that's okay. I think her internet went down in the middle of the stream, but you will be able to find her live and her booth. So all of these essential oils that she talked about today, I'm sure she's going to be able to go into more in depth in the event. You'll be able to visit her vendor booth, and we'll hear from her more. And we'll be able to join Dr. Jamie. We'll have Dr. Jody. She'll be in there as well. And then we also have Kate Simpson, who's going to be working through the emotion codes. I think she's got, I can't remember now what her workshop is titled, but she'll be working through emotion code and really releasing some of those emotions that can be trapped. And it's just a phenomenal experience of really addressing mind, body, and spirit in this complete transformation towards self-love. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you. Go to www.join-ahs.org and you'll find out more there, and we will see you on the 22nd. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jamie.
See you later.
Bye.